Hello, this is Christine Buchanan from Open Door Group. Thank you very much to the BC Centre for Employment Excellence to be able to represent and talk about how we're providing customized employment. Currently, Open Door Group is providing customized employment through the Employment Program of British Columbia since 2012. Previously, we've done customized employment through an individualized employment services contract from 2009 and 2014. Other types of vocational rehabilitation experience that we've had is in 1998 we moved to working with people with all disabilities, and we were strictly a disability organization. And then in 1976 up until 1998 we were providing vocational rehabilitation training and employment services to people with mental health conditions. So as I mentioned, we're doing customized employment services throughout the province in many different areas. Our main centers, Kamloops, Lillooet, Sunshine Coast, Oliver, and the Vancouver downtown east side. And then we're a subcontractor providing customized employment in Vancouver Midtown, Port Moody, Surrey Wally, Surrey Guildford, and then also Merritt, which is not on this slide. Our staff have the experience of delivering services to all types of people with disabilities: mental health, developmental, brain injuries, learning disabilities, fetal alcohol syndrome, attention deficit disorder, chronic conditions, sensory, physical, mobility impairments. And then starting in 2012, with the customized employment opening up for people outside of having a disability, we're looking at drug addictions, homelessness, undiagnosed mental health, as well as others. On the other side of the screen where it says service successes, this talks about some of the employers that we've worked with and what their feedback has been in relation to having a client come on and do a customized placement in their business. So they very much appreciated the support and being able to do a customized type position. So the case study that I'll be talking about today is Kay. And Kay is a 49-year-old female. She has been wanting to look for work for quite some time and has not worked in 35 years. Her mental health worker from Mental Health and Addictions referred Kay to coming to Open Door Group to find paid employment. As she was referred to us by a mental health worker, and her mental health worker was coming to the first appointment with Kay, we were able to connect her right away to the correct person who was going to work with her, somebody that had experience working with people with mental health. So in the first initial intake appointment, we were able to, along with discussions with Kay, with her mental health worker, and along with getting a medical assessment report, to find out where Kay was at. So she has a diagnosis of schizophrenia, and she was able to let us know what that was like. And also she has a diagnosis of a borderline intellectual developmental disorder. Kay was not able to talk about this. She just did not see that she had an intellectual developmental disorder, and this came through a medical assessment report that we received later on. Kay has been living in supported housing since 2007, and she had not been hospitalized since 2004. With the supported housing, she gets 2 hours of daily support from her mental health worker coming in and helping her with daily living. And with this, as Kay was extremely excited about looking for work and wanting to get a job right away, right on the outside, talking to her about what Customize is, talking about what that would mean and if she was interested in that, and then kind of managing the expectations that the job won't be there tomorrow. It's going to take a little bit to find the position. So in our next appointments that we were doing is through the discovery phase. And in the discovery, we did every single appointment outside of the office. And this is critical as we're going through, and we'll talk about the different areas and all of the really key information that we'll get on how she would respond in a workplace. We would do first safe environments that she knows. unfamiliar surroundings, and she had mentioned that she was very comfortable with working in a busy surrounding, so we would bring her to places that were busy to see how she was in that area. So in the first environment was to her house, and when we went to her house, it was very interesting to see that she had Post-it notes all over her house, giving her reminders that were put there by her life skills worker. Washing dishes, wipe down services, clean bathroom, wash bedding, talking about hygiene, turning off the stove. So all of that stuff gave us a lot of information to let us know that that is a good way that she responds, having very written down instructions. The next area that we went to in the next meeting was into a not familiar environment, so to a coffee shop. In this first meeting that the vocational counselor took Kay to, she was very anxious at the very beginning and then was okay as time went by. So we could see that she did get more comfortable throughout the time. And at this appointment, we were going through her interests. And in here, as was reflective in this home environment, there was not a lot of pictures or things were of interest to her. They were all very much with the Post-it notes. And so she was not able to describe or talk a lot about her interests. So being outside into the community was very good to see what she liked to do. Our next meeting that we went to was to a busy environment. As I mentioned, Kay had said that she could work in a busy environment. She did well. There was another meeting of somebody else, that the job developer that came along to start to get a feel of how Kay was. Met somebody that she knew, so she jumped right in on the conversation. There were some comments that maybe weren't appropriate that you would say to a stranger asking very personal questions, but she responded well to feedback. The other area was in Kay's dressing. Her clothing was not necessarily the type of clothing that you would wear to the workplace. The top was see-through. And when this feedback was given to Kay, she responded right away saying, I don't have a tank top. And then we talked about, or I'm still even doing it the second time, that the vocational counselor said that they'll go shopping with her to see how she is with shopping and look at getting some work clothes for her. Also to note is that Kay had 2 volunteer experiences, and I'll talk a bit more about that when we get to the work experience placement. So although she has not worked in 35 years, she has had 7 years of volunteering. So the other meeting that we went to was at a bowling. We took her with another client, and so it was a very kind of fun activity to see how she responded. She worked very well with small talk. You could see that at certain points she would cheer on the other person, but then would disengage and go off on her own. But then when you would encourage her to come back, she would come right back in, and that was very valuable information. When we took her shopping to Walmart, there was $100 that she had, and her list of what she could purchase was very unrealistic. So it was like 5 pairs of pants, 5 t-shirts, slippers, house coat, as well as cigarettes. So when talking to her about that, perhaps this is not, the $100 won't cover that all, and looking at how can she prioritize to make the list come down. In the store, the vocational counselor and the job developer, they were able to see that she was asking for feedback. Can you help me pick out the right clothes? That the vocational counselor has great taste, and that she would be able to assist her with that. And you could see there that Kay did have trouble matching clothes that would actually fit. At the very end, she did great small talk with the cashier, talking about the different types of point systems of anything that they have at Walmart, and then also looking at budgeting. Could she buy cigarettes at the end? So the meeting that we also did went to, and actually I'll go into that one later. First I'll do the work simulation. For the work simulation, this is another observation in a safe or known environment, and it doesn't have to be, but for this situation, Kay had been in this environment one time before. So it was at our garden gate that we have an acre of land, lots of vegetables, and Kay was going to pick a recipe that was familiar to her. She picked all the ingredients, she did the shopping, and she would do everything. And then the vocational counselor would only step in unless needed. So for this situation, Kay picked a recipe that she knew off of the top of her head. When going and doing the shopping, she was able to find everything pretty much on her own. When she did have some challenges, the vocational counselor just stepped in and said, what would you normally do if you were here shopping? And then she was able to ask somebody for help. At the place of doing the cooking, as she knew this area, so she was able to find where all of the dishes and the pots and pans were and went right in it on her own. The vocational counselor was saying, I'm here, I'm available if you need me, just giving instructions, you're the one that's leading it. Kay had a hard time giving instructions, more that she was more apt to receiving instructions. And she was very cleanly, very clean. She would clean up while she was doing the cooking, and so this was being able to see that she would work really well in a restaurant type environment and also where there was cleaning involved. The other area that I had mentioned before is that Kay had been volunteering since 2007, and she probably could have started customized employment a few years into volunteering, maybe 2008 and 2009. And so having 7 years experience, we were able to gather very strong evidence of how she would be in the workplace. And both of her supervisors were talked to on what her strengths were, any challenges that they had, and how did Kay respond to the feedback. There were some things that with Kay, because she's a rule follower and she likes to stick to the list. You give her a list, you give her rules, and that's what she will adhere to. So, for example, no coffee, no drinks, no food in the Salvation Army while you're shopping. So Kay would go right up to somebody and say, if they had a coffee in their hand, very, very abruptly, you need to put your coffee on the counter. So it was talked to her about her vocal tone and how that she could perhaps say it in a more customer service-y type of way. And the other area was the feedback was in relation to her dress. Sometimes the clothes were too small, and she responded very well to that feedback and changed it. And so that also gave us the information for working at a work site that she does hear, understand, and be able to follow through on feedback. Once all of the discovery phase was done, we were able to complete a very, very comprehensive placement profile so that the job coach could take this, the job developer could take this, and be able to work with finding the right position. So you can see here the things that we were able to cover from all of these appointments that were done outside into the different appointments that were done outside, not in the office. Living situation, transportation, she was very good at figuring out transportation. Her disability health summary, what were the activities and the outcomes, what is her personal schedule like, goals, interests, strengths, dislikes, barriers, education, work summary. Also, Kay wanted to do a food safe training, which she did go through and had to have the test. She had not passed the first few times until the instructions were given to her orally. And as soon as that she responded orally and the questions were given to orally, she did pass. So she did receive her food safe certificate. Learning and teaching styles, work environment, ideal conditions of employment, work simulation outcomes, and potential employers. And so with this one here, there was a transition meeting that was done. So with the employment profile in place, with the discovery profile, there is a meeting where it's done with the job developer, with her supports, with Kay, with the vocational counselor, to talk all about the profile and next steps. And this is also very important at this point to manage the expectations and timeframes of how long it may take from this point moving forward to a placement coming. Personal profiles were developed that had her photos, quotes, qualifications, the ideal job for Kay, what it would be like working for Kay, with Kay. And for us in this situation, the vocational counselor and the job developer only created one employment profile, as they were seeing that the restaurants, that type of industry would be the good one. And it would either be dishwashing, it would be up at the front, it could be doing some kind of prep cooking. So there were options, but we could use the same profile. In other circumstances, we may have 3 different kind of employment profiles focusing on different strengths and skills. The next area that we've got that we find that really works well is to have very strong marketing material. So the job developer can go out with the profile of the client and then with the customized employment marketing material that talks about the business case for hiring for people through customized success stories of other clients that were hired through this type of a avenue, through the non-traditional approach, and then talking about the real work for real pay and what what other, I already had said that, but what other employers have to say. I think it's very important that we have that. And just so you can see that this time does take a lot that you're doing for one client, and not to put all your eggs in one basket, that if you've got an employer that's kind of saying yes, that you still keep going with looking at other employers until that placement has been sealed. This was very evident when I was looking through and talking with the job developer in relation to Kay, that they had 17 employers contacted that was a conversation. It wasn't just phoning and them not returning their calls. From their 5 interviews, there was a pre-placement at Zellers that Kay did for about 4 months, and then she was laid off. So I just wanted to put that one in there to kind of show that sometimes you're having to do replacements. And then the placement that she did receive. And then once the placement was set, that's where you would be doing the job carving. And this particular position was completely carved out for Kay. This position did not exist before, and it was looked at that she would be doing wiping down tables, sweeping, mopping, refilling the coffee station, refilling the salt and pepper condiments, refilling drinks, clearing tables. Kay really wanted to do dishwashing, and that was put down that let's start in this direction first and see how it goes, and then later on would look at the dishwashing. So a schedule was set up for Kay, starting out doing Mondays and Wednesdays from 11 to 2, having at the $10.55 an hour to get started. And so from here, it was determined also that Kay, the transportation, it was tested out a few times that she could get there. Shopping was done to get her clothing that she was needed, and then as well the company provided a shirt. For the job coaching for Kay, it didn't take as much time at the outset. They were able to look at her going in. I think the job developer, as I'm looking here, only needed to go in 2 to 3 times at the very beginning to set it all up, to set up the checklist, to create the natural supports. She had 3 natural supports that were able to work with her, which was very helpful. The area that needs changing with Kay is that once tasks change, she will need that extra support. For the retention piece was where a lot of the support would come in. So even though there was job coaching only at the very beginning for the first 2 to 3 sessions of her shift, there was times where job coaching would have to come in and do interventions Well, one in particular where it was too busy for Kay. It was during the busy work environments. We had to do a change in the schedule. There were other times where she was sticking and adhering too much to the lists that was provided, so paring down the list so that they could give her other things to do that were more in line with what the business is. And as well, the other piece of coming in is educating new employees. It was hard for the owner of the company when new employers came in, and Kay would phone and talk to the job developer, and then going in and just kind of to help with how Kay works the best and then how to work with her. So that was very effective as well. Now, Kay's been employed for over a year, and we're still seeing she will call every few months where she's needing assistance when tasks change. She has moved into doing the dishwashing as she likes, and we were able to get a wage subsidy and opportunities fund to help with that kind of portion for the help with the training with that. And so as we move through, we're able to still jump in and kind of help with that extra support. So that is all that I have for this case study. I just want to thank you very much for the opportunity to discuss this.